I never thought one night could change everything. But there I was, sitting across from her in that quiet cafe, watching her fidget with the rim of her coffee cup like she had a secret she wasn't ready to share. Her eyes kept darting to the door, as if she were waiting for someone, or maybe trying to convince herself that someone would walk in and fix everything. She smiled at me, but it wasn't the kind of smile that made you feel warm. It was fragile, hesitant, like it could crack at any second. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice low, almost trembling. My heart sank a little because I knew this wasn't going to be simple. She had been in my life for months, and in all that time, I thought we were getting closer. I thought we had something real, something worth holding on to. But the way she looked at me now, it made me question everything I believed about us. "I'm not over my ex," she blurted out before I could say anything. The words hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. I wanted to react, to laugh it off, or tell her it was okay. But the truth is, I froze. Because hearing her say that, after all the late-night conversations, all the moments we shared, it felt like my world shifted sideways. Then she leaned a little closer, almost like she was afraid I might walk away if she didn't clarify. "But don't leave me yet," she added softly, almost pleading. And just like that, confusion and hope tangled up inside me in ways I didn't know how to sort. I wanted to ask her what that even meant. Did she want me around just until she got over him? Or did she mean she actually wanted a chance with me, even with everything still raw? I tried to keep my voice steady, tried to make it sound casual. "Okay, we'll figure it out," I said, though inside I felt a storm brewing. Because the thing about her confession was that it wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of something I never expected. We sat there in silence for a few seconds, the kind of quiet that feels heavier than words. I could feel her tension, the way her fingers trembled on the cup, the way she kept glancing at the door. And I knew there was more she wasn't saying. Something she was keeping locked up tight. Something that could change everything between us in a heartbeat. I should have walked away. I should have told myself this was too complicated. But I didn't. Because part of me wanted to know what came next, even if it meant risking everything. And then, she did something that made my stomach twist in a way I will never forget. Something I wasn't ready for and couldn't have predicted. And in that moment, I realized that nothing about this night, or about her, was going to be simple. Her name is Emma, and for as long as I've known her, she's been complicated. Not in a bad way, just layered. There's always this sense that there's more under the surface, like she's carrying pieces of her past that don't quite fit together. I met her through a mutual friend a few months ago, and something about her made it impossible to look away. She's smart, funny in a quiet way, and has this energy that pulls people in, even if they don't always know why. When we started spending more time together, it felt effortless at first. Coffee dates that turned into long walks, late-night talks where we shared things no one else seemed to understand. I started feeling something I hadn't in a long time, a connection that went deeper than just attraction. But even then, there were signs she was holding something back. A hesitation in her voice, a glance that lingered too long on her phone, stories about her past that stopped abruptly. I brushed it off at first. We all have baggage, right? I told myself that what mattered was right now, and for a while, it worked. She laughed at my dumb jokes. We shared little moments that felt like ours alone, and I allowed myself to believe that maybe she was finally letting someone in. But underneath it all, I could sense there was a storm she hadn't shared yet, and I didn't know when, or if, it would break. Then came the night she mentioned her ex. I had heard bits and pieces before. She didn't hide the fact that she had loved someone deeply. But I thought those wounds were closed, buried under time and distance. Apparently, I was wrong. The thing about Emma is that she doesn't make things easy. She's honest in the most unpredictable ways. She says what she feels when she can't hold it in anymore, but it's never simple. You're left trying to piece together the meaning behind her words. And now, sitting across from her in that quiet cafe, I realized just how much I didn't know. I should have felt angry, betrayed, maybe even scared. Instead, I felt pulled in. Like I was standing at the edge of something I couldn't fully see, but I couldn't walk away either. There was a tension in the air, thick and electric, the kind that makes you aware of every small sound. The clinking of cups, the distant chatter of other customers, the rustle of her coat as she shifted nervously. I wanted to ask questions, but I knew the answers wouldn't be simple. Whatever was coming next wasn't just about her or me. It was about everything we had shared up to this point, everything we thought we understood about each other. And in that silence, I realized that the truth, whatever it was about to test everything. She looked at me again, her eyes unreadable, and for a second, I thought she might walk out. Or worse, that she might let me walk away without stopping me. And in that moment, I knew the next words out of her mouth could change everything if I survived hearing them. I leaned back in my chair, trying to act calm, but my mind was racing. Emma, what does that mean? I asked carefully, my voice steadier than I felt. She hesitated, biting her lip, and for a second, the hesitation felt like a warning. Like opening this door might release something we weren't ready for. I don't know, she whispered, almost to herself. I just know I'm not over him. And I can't lie to you about that. Her eyes looked everywhere but at me, tracing the edges of the table, the pattern on the floor, anything to avoid the truth. My chest tightened. I wanted to reach across and hold her hand, to tell her it was okay, but part of me was afraid. Afraid that doing so would pull me into something I couldn't get out of. For weeks, I had built this fragile idea in my head, that we had something real, that the past was behind her. But now it felt like I was standing on shifting ground. Every memory of laughter, every late-night conversation, suddenly felt weighted with unspoken tension. What had I been imagining? And more importantly, what did she really want from me? I need time, she said, finally meeting my eyes. Her voice cracked a little, and I realized just how much this was hurting her too. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to figure herself out. But the timing, right now, with us, was cruel. And I didn't know how to respond. Because loving someone who isn't fully ready for you isn't just complicated, it's terrifying. I tried to speak, to find the right words that wouldn't make things worse, but nothing came out. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. And then, just when I thought the moment couldn't get any more awkward, she said something that stopped me cold. I need you to trust me, even if I don't deserve it yet. The words hung in the air, strange and vulnerable, almost like a dare. I didn't know what she meant by it. Did she want me to stay while she sorted through her feelings? Or was she warning me that staying could break me? My mind spun, trying to calculate every possibility, but nothing made sense. And just as I opened my mouth to answer, the cafe door swung open, and a familiar voice called out her name, one that I hadn't expected to hear tonight. Everything shifted in an instant, and I realized that whatever came next wasn't just about us anymore. The moment the voice called her name, Emma froze. Her eyes widened, and I could see a flicker of panic cross her face, quick, subtle, but impossible to miss. I followed her gaze and saw him, her ex. He looked different, confident, almost smug, like he owned the room without even trying. My stomach sank. I hadn't expected this. None of this. Emma's hand trembled on the table as she tried to hide it. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. The seconds stretched, each one heavy with tension, like the air itself was holding its breath. I wanted to speak, to say something, anything, but I was paralyzed. There was a storm brewing right in front of me, and I didn't know if I was about to get caught in it or stand helpless on the sidelines. He approached, his presence filling the small cafe in a way that made me feel invisible. Emma stood, almost instinctively, like she was bracing for something. I wanted to intervene, to stop whatever was about to happen, but before I could move, she held up a hand, a silent signal that she was handling this. I didn't expect to see you here, she said, her voice soft but tense. Her eyes flicked to mine for a fraction of a second, and I caught something there. Fear, guilt, maybe even confusion. He smiled, that easy, familiar smile that had clearly left its mark on her. I thought I'd drop by, he said, casually, as if it were just another day. But the way he said it, it wasn't casual. There was an edge, something unspoken that sent a shiver down my spine. I realized, suddenly, that this wasn't just about lingering feelings or old memories. Something was happening between them, something I couldn't yet see but could feel in the tension radiating off them both. Emma's ex, he wasn't just a memory. He was a presence, a force that could change everything in an instant. And I was trapped in the middle, unsure of what she really wanted, what she was capable of feeling, and what she might do next. Emma took a step back, her hand still raised as if to create distance, but her voice shook. I need to explain. Explain what? I wanted to ask, but my throat was tight, my mind racing. Every instinct screamed at me to prepare for the worst. I could see the past and present colliding in her eyes, and I had no idea which side she'd ultimately choose, or if she even knew herself. And then, just as I opened my mouth to finally say something, something completely unexpected happened. Something in her expression changed, something subtle, almost invisible, but it made my heart stop. She looked at me, not at him, and whispered a single word that I couldn't immediately understand. The cafe felt smaller, the world narrower, and suddenly I realized that the truth, the real truth, was about to come out. And whatever it was, it could change everything. I stared at her, heart pounding, waiting for her to say something that would make sense. But the word she whispered, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't about him, or me, or the tangled mess of feelings between us. It was something else entirely. "I'm pregnant," she said, her voice barely audible, shaking as if saying it out loud made it real. My chest tightened. The cafe seemed to tilt, the noise around us fading into a dull hum. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I wanted to ask how, why, with whom, but her eyes stopped me. She wasn't ready for my questions. Her ex froze too, his confident demeanor cracking for the first time. The smugness was gone, replaced by shock, like he hadn't anticipated this at all. And in that moment, I realized the situation was far bigger than anything I could have imagined. Emma looked at me, searching my face as if begging for something. Trust, patience, maybe forgiveness. But I felt trapped between every possible outcome, every consequence I hadn't even considered yet. And just when I thought I could wrap my mind around it, she did something that made the entire cafe fall silent and left me wondering if anything between us would ever be the same again. The cafe felt smaller than ever, the air thick with tension and disbelief. Emma's hand trembled as she placed it over her stomach, as if trying to shield herself from everything crashing down around her. Her ex stood frozen, staring at her like he'd just walked into a nightmare he couldn't escape. And I didn't know where to put myself. I need to know who's going to be here, I finally said, my voice firmer than I felt. Because this isn't just about feelings anymore. It's about a life. And I need to understand what you want, what you expect from me. Emma swallowed hard, tears brimming in her eyes. I don't know yet, she admitted. I wasn't expecting any of this either. But I know one thing. I don't want to lose you. Not completely. Her ex's face hardened, a mix of anger and fear flashing across him. Emma, you can't just, he started, but she cut him off with a single, sharp look. Enough, she said, her voice steady now, almost commanding. This isn't about you anymore. It's about me. And whoever stays has to accept that. I felt my chest tighten, the weight of her words settling like a stone. I had a choice, to walk away, to protect myself, or to step forward, even if it meant navigating a mess I didn't fully understand. And as I reached for her hand, something shifted. She looked at me, hope and fear battling in her eyes, and I realized that despite everything, I couldn't let go. I'm staying, I whispered, and the words felt heavier than anything I'd ever said. Whatever happens, I'm staying. Her ex's jaw tightened, and he turned abruptly, storming out of the cafe, leaving a tense silence behind. I looked at Emma, expecting relief or joy, but instead, she froze. Her phone buzzed on the table, and the screen lit up with a message from a number I didn't recognize. She glanced at it, her eyes widening in shock. It's him, she whispered. Not my ex, someone else entirely. I stared at her, heart hammering, realizing that the storm wasn't over. This night, this revelation had opened a door I wasn't sure I wanted to step through, but now, I had no choice. The cafe was quiet now, the storm outside mirroring the one inside me. Emma's hand still rested lightly in mine, and I could feel her trembling slowly fade as we both tried to breathe through the whirlwind of emotions. Her ex was gone, the threat of his presence dissipated, but the new message on her phone lingered like a shadow, reminding me that the night wasn't fully over. I should probably see who that is, she said, hesitating, thumb hovering over the screen. I nodded, giving her a reassuring squeeze. Whatever the answer, we'd face it together. She opened the message slowly, and I could see the recognition and shock spread across her face. It wasn't her ex, not the one we'd expected. It was someone from her past, someone she hadn't told me about, someone who complicated everything in ways neither of us could have predicted. But as she put the phone down, she looked at me again. This time, there was clarity in her eyes. Whatever happens next, she said, her voice soft but certain, I want you to know that I want you in my life. Not just tonight, not just as a placeholder. You. I felt something settle inside me, a warmth that cut through all the confusion, fear, and tension from the past hours. I realized that love wasn't always simple. It wasn't about neat answers or perfect timing. It was messy, unpredictable, and sometimes terrifying, but it was real. And in that moment, the choice became clear. I had stayed, and I would continue to stay, not out of obligation, not out of pity, but because I wanted to. We left the cafe together, stepping out into the night that suddenly felt calmer, as if the city itself had exhaled. We didn't have all the answers. We didn't know what the future held, what challenges, surprises, or heartbreaks might come. But for the first time, we were facing it together, ready to navigate whatever storm came next. As we walked, Emma leaned her head on my shoulder, and I felt the small but significant weight of trust between us. Sometimes, life throws impossible situations in your path. Sometimes, it tests you in ways you didn't see coming. But the moments you choose to stay, to care, and to believe, those are the moments that define you. And as the night wrapped around us, quiet and vast, I realized that this was more than just a beginning. It was a chance to love, to forgive, and to grow. And in that chance, I found something I hadn't expected, hope. Even with the unknown waiting just around the corner, for the first time in a long while, I felt like we could survive anything. Because we were together. And sometimes, that's enough.